That one option literally is holding you back. Okay, so I just had to make this video to let you know what the 3 best things you can do to change in the settings for Pavlov on PlayStation VR2. The first 2 are actually kind of weird because a lot of people online are recommending the opposite of what I'm about to say. If you stick around for the entire video and just listen to my justification, I actually think you'll totally agree. There is a learning curve to the game, and a lot of us are turned off by that because if we can't just pick up and play something, we're kind of like, it doesn't work or something's wrong. When really the new controls on the PlayStation VR2 and all the new sense controls and stuff like that are brand new, and we've actually never had an opportunity to learn this stuff. Whereas the dual joystick function with the triggers, all that stuff's been around forever, it feels like. That said, the controls are so good that literally it's transformative, that it becomes like an extension of your body. Not that my hands are sitting here locked and I'm anchored into the experience. I'm literally moving around independently with my hands, dropping to the ground, laying down, all that stuff. So let's get into it. First and foremost, the number one thing you need to do, and I'm telling you, everyone online is saying the opposite. Go into your settings. Under player, you're going to see an option there that says virtual stock. And it's funny because the developers literally give you a hint or a tip when you're loading in between games. And one of them is turn virtual stock on if you want to simulate a gun stock. But in the beginning, when you're trying to play and learn Pavlov for PlayStation VR2, because that's all I can speak to, I haven't played PC. The controls, again, brand new. It feels, I don't know if the word's cumbersome, it feels awkward because you're not sure what everything is doing. Even the little grip buttons, if you're, pressing that accidentally, you're dropping your gun, you're grabbing it, you're mid-fight and somebody takes you down. So that virtual stock, what that does is that just gives you that sensitivity to drop. So when you're pulling your gun up again, it's easier to line somebody up when you want to. Any pro player will say, man, you want to crank the right stick up on your sensitivity because you'll be able to turn around much faster than the average player. It is kind of like that because when you have it on, immediately you're like, oh, I want this on, but it actually will not beat somebody like me who has it off, and I can instantly pull the gun out and draw, immediately shoot you. Because I'm so used to and accustomed playing the game with it off, it's truly like somebody's putting their hand on the barrel of my gun and pushing down constantly. So from this to that, way faster. So if you just spend a day or two, and I say this, over time it just will not be a thing. You'll totally get it. You won't have to think. It's not just going to make you a better player, it's going to feel realistic. It's full one-to-one. It's not reducing that sensitivity. When I say sensitivity, it's not something you're adjusting. It's not your artificial turn. That sensitivity has to do with using your right stick and turning on the X plane, the X axis. Whereas your virtual stock, it's limiting your Y axis. But again, I can see why beginners would love it because there's no wobble effect when you go to line somebody up. If you're wondering why you can't get the draw on people, that one option literally is holding you back. So just practice, and I'll show you how to practice properly in a second. It sounds weird. Number 2, this one's kind of funny. It's in the input section. I say this one's funny because I think a lot of people will disagree with me here, but I understand, everyone has preferences, but hear me out for a sec. Under auto sprint, again, it seems like a convenience. Turn that on and then you just point forward and it sprints instead of having to click your left stick in. It is not a good thing because when you're doing that and you're just used to walking forward all the time, we all are in games, you're actually running. And you know this. And by running, though, in the game, you're just totally sounding the alarm on the radar for people like me who are stopping and listening. And then I hear your footsteps around the corner. I'm not moving. And you just run into my gun. Whereas if you're controlling the joystick and walking slowly, you get a feel for playing in stealth mode. That's what I call it. So you barely make any audible sound whatsoever. And then you get a feel for walking slowly, crouching down, taking your time, and using your ears to actually be the radar. What an incredible experience, actually using your ears as radar, not joking. That all has to do with this auto sprint. If you have that on, you're just killing that whole sensation of being able to hear things. Because again, when you're walking forward, you're sprinting. And when you're sprinting, the sound of your movement is actually overriding everything, pretty much. You'll hear gunfires, but not to the same degree where you know where that gunshot's coming from. Because again, you're sprinting and you're focused on running where you're running. Don't run around and give your points up. That's what I mean, is by getting yourself killed, you're actually just making them win faster. Whereas value your life, absolutely. This game rewards that behavior for sure. A lot of people, I get it, would want to have that option on. It seems like a convenience and it's easier to play with. It doesn't make you a better player. It just makes you a sounding alarm. You're running around and you're just giving your position away to people like me. All right, so for the third thing where I'm saying it would make you a better player, I personally prefer this. I can't justify how this makes you a better player, but I feel like when you go to, let's check it out, in the input section again, just under auto sprint, there's a grip mode here. You have three options. One is toggle, one is hold, and the other is capacitive. Toggle, I believe, is the default. What that means is that you have to click your grip button in order to pick up your gun or put it away. You have to tap the grip button in order to actually throw your gun if it's in your hand. The hold button is, to me, the far more realistic version where you have to hold that grip button to grab any gun, weapon, grenade, knife, anything, and then releasing it just drops it out of your hand. Boy, is that ever a huge learning curve, because I was dropping my gun all the time, but I felt like, you know what? When I'm squeezing that button to hold, even just my regular gun, not the left hand, it kept my arms in a stiff position because I'm squeezing, I'm flexing my arm, right? Instead of relaxing my hand and doing this. So your arms are floaty if you're just doing this and you're not engaged. So when you're using the hold function, absolutely, that's my recommendation. That's what I've been using. I've tried the capacitive. I want to train myself to use it, and I keep doing this with my fingers, but if my finger naturally does rest on that button, because again, I've just been doing that forever with all controllers. I've never just kept my middle finger off the buttons, right? Does that make sense? When my hand rests on it, it'll touch a grenade or a knife in my pocket. So I'm just moving around. All of a sudden, it's in my left hand, and I go to grab my gun, and I can't because I've got something in my left hand. So I understand the intent there was cool to give you that feature, but if you've seen my other video, why doesn't anybody know this, in Saints and Sinners? It has to do with their version of using that grip button, and it's incredible. So I want you guys to check the video out. There's one really neat thing about the actual hold function in this grip mode, and you spawn into the game, it just automatically holds the gun. The moment you press and hold the gun, the button, it functions that way, and release it, it'll drop it. And then you have to continue to grab and hold the button in order to pick anything or release anything. But right when you spawn, it actually holds the gun already, so you don't have to flex your finger there the whole time. You could play a whole round without even using your grip button, but your left hand you will. And to me, that's totally cool. So yeah, absolutely, I highly recommend training yourself to be in that hold mode. And how to train? Check this out. They don't actually spell it out, but man, I wish a lot of people knew about this. I had to figure it out just by trial and error. Under offline, go into that. In there, go into Team Deathmatch. In there, you're going to see on the bottom right hand corner, there's an option where you can choose your map, and then there's a little box that says no bots. Oh my god, click that, click it. So you don't want any bots on, go to every map, get a feel for the maps is what I'm trying to say, as you can, without having to worry about somebody taking you down every 5 seconds like me.
PlayStation